Reverend Sue and I had a little chuckle there when Damien was doing the reading. I picked out that reading a couple of days ago and didn't quite remember all the details of it. But we were talking right before the service about Pema Chodron, I believe it was, who talks about how we move into discord when we hang on to an old thought or an old perception and we don't let go and move forward with it. And we think that it's supposed to be the way that it was. And she mentioned that Gandhi had this wonderful phrase, yes, I used to be that way, but I have evolved since then. I have evolved since then. And we are all evolving. We are all in motion. None of us are static. None of us are stuck. Even that person that bugs you the most and has bugged you for years is still evolving, right? It might be slow and you might not quite discern it, but they are still evolving. And sometimes they make this leap that surprises the heck out of us. And so can we be open to our own and each other's evolution and be in that soft heart space with each other? And when we do that, we'll experience a true freedom from discord. And when we can do that for ourselves and recognize that, yes, this is what I just did today. And now I've just learned and I'm evolving. Can I move forward? I think that's my talk right there. I had a whole different one written down here. So freedom from discord, it comes with, and for those of you who maybe haven't been here for a little while, we're working with an overall year-long theme of creating a world that works for all. And well over 100 religious science churches, centers for spiritual living around the world are working with the same theme at the same time. So we're applying this large group consciousness to up-leveling our own consciousness, to shifting into, can we hold the vision and start to embody the idea of a world that works for all? And so we're sitting with that. So each of the talks this year comes with one of the vision statements or one of the what we believe statements from Ernest Holmes. And today is one of my favorites from the What We Believe by Ernest Holmes. We believe the ultimate goal of life to be a complete emancipation from all discord of every nature. And I love this part, and that this goal is sure to be attained by all. All of us are going to get there. All of us are going to have that point where we are free from discord. Isn't that wonderful? Okay. Sometimes in my life, I look at my life and go, it might take me another 25, 35, 4,500 lifetimes to get there. But we're all going to get there. And sometimes I say, you know what? It's going to happen now. And so we can live in that freedom from discord. So Merriam-Webster defines discord as a lack of agreement or harmony as between persons, things, or ideas. Lack of agreement or harmony. And so discord begins where? Within us, right? Begins within us. The universe, the nature of the universe is harmony. See, there's only one life, right? The last I checked, it gets along with itself. It gets along with itself. It gets along with all aspects of itself, And so it's in harmony. It's good with itself. God is good with every aspect of itself, right? When I'm experiencing discord then, I'm out of alignment with how the universe is operating. And so I'm in separation from the one. I'm believing that I'm separate from that. And I'm believing that the infinite intelligence doesn't know what it's doing. And that I know better than it. This is the ego self talking. This is not our true spiritual self, right? Okay. I don't know if any of you have ever experienced that, but I'm certain that I know better than God sometimes, right? What I found in the long run is I'm always wrong. It's hard to admit, but I'm always wrong. So we move into this ego self, this separate self, that believes in the illusion of what's happening out here and believes in the illusion of separation. So I've been working for a while with Byron Katie's The Work. I'm teaching this class on the work and working with the book of Loving What Is. And as I mentioned in the class, this is not about tolerating what is, putting up with what is. This is about loving what is. Big difference. And she talks about that there's three kinds of business in the universe, only three. There's my business. That's the part of life that I can control, that I have responsibility for. my life, right? And then there's your business. And your business is what you have responsibility for and control of. And then there's God's business. That's the stuff that neither you nor I nor anybody else has any control or influence on, right? I can't change the weather. I can sit here and say, I don't like the fact that it's going to be 107 degrees this week. And I can not like it, but guess what? It's still going to be 107 this week, right? Or at least it's predicted to be. So there's that business, there's God's business. And she reminds us that if you are living your life, and I am mentally living your life, who's living my life? If you're in your business and I'm in your business too, who's running my business? Who's running my shop? Who's running my life? She says that to think that I know what's best for anyone else is to be out of my business. Even in the name of love, it is pure arrogance, and the result is tension, anxiety, and fear. Do I know what's right for me? That is my only business. Take a breath with that. Do I know what's right for me? Do I pay attention to that? So if I'm feeling discord, one of the great questions to ask myself is, whose business am I in mentally? Whose business am I in? And that question will free you. You may even start laughing as you notice that, ooh, I'm in somebody else's business. I'm thinking that somebody else should be doing something in another way. We had a person in the class last Wednesday who we had gone over this, we did the process, and towards the end of the class was still sitting there and wanted to go into somebody else's business. She had an attachment about somebody else's business and thinking that this person needed to be involved in that person's business. And it was funny. She eventually got it and laughed at it, after a point. But it was like, go into that business, pull back. Go into that business, pull back. Go into that business, pull back. And we do that sometimes. We get, into that process. And a good question to ask yourself is, why do I want to be in that person's business, and what am I avoiding within my own? What am I avoiding within my own life? What is it that I don't want to look at, so I'm going to look at something over here? Jesus put it as looking at the splinter in your neighbor's eye while not dealing with the log in our own. Okay? And so I want to go correct your splinter while not dealing with the log in my own eye. And when I do that, I experience discord and disharmony. So this question of whose business am I in can bring me back to myself. And I think of the story of the prodigal son, the story of, as I like to say, the father's love. And it says that finally at a point he comes to himself. He came to himself. He got out of the party business. He got out of his dad's inheritance business, and he came to himself. And after that, he made better decisions, wiser decisions, like, I'm going to go back to my father's house instead of hanging out here slopping pigs. Many of us have been out slopping pigs, right, in our lives, the equivalent of that. And life started to work much better when he made those decisions, right? It started to work better for him when he came to himself. When we come back to our business, we become present to the Spirit within us. And we start to open up and allow that Spirit to work through us. When we come back to our business, we become truly present in our own lives. See, if I'm not present in my own life, I'm not living it wisely and well. I'm not paying attention to what's really going on. Because I'm too busy telling you how you should live your life. When we come back to our business, we begin to make wiser decisions. The second learning from this is deep. It's a lengthy thing. What is, is. What is. Most of the time we're upset because we're in an argument with reality just as it is. Much of our discord comes from wanting reality to be different than it is. It might be an I should be. It might be a you or they should be. It might be a the world should be. It might be like I just referenced the weather should be, or something out of my control should be. but I'm not accepting what is. See, if I'm unhappy about the weather being 107, is that going to change the weather? No. So I might as well become happy with what is. I might as well become at least aware of what is. And then maybe I can make a wiser decision. Gee, I think I'll spend the day at the beach instead, where it'll be 65 degrees. Or I'm going to spend the day in my air-conditioned office, or something. I can do a wiser decision, but as long as I'm at odds with it and arguing with what is, I'm not making wise decisions from that. Ernest Holmes says that we don't deny the existence of a condition. In other words, we don't deny that what is. We do, however, deny that it has to continue to exist as it is. So I can change how I interchange and how I interact with that. If I get a diagnosis that says I have some disease, what is. I don't have to, and then from there I can start saying, now, what do I want to do about it? But if I don't allow myself to be an experience, if I'm in denial of the whole thing, I can't make wise decisions. Sylvia sent me a little, was it Sylvia? I can't remember. Somebody sent me a little Facebook post this week. Because I was whining, I think, on one of the mornings about getting up early. It felt early. It was the same normal time I would normally get up, but for some reason I'd been up late the night before and it just felt so early. I know, it was last Sunday. I didn't want to get up. Because it was my first Sunday back after being on vacation for 2 Sundays in a row and stuff like that. It was just like, oh, I don't want to get up. And so somebody sent me the 5 stages of grief: denial, bargaining, anger, all that stuff. And excepting underneath it was labeled the 5 stages of waking up. Okay? And as it was actually Cherie Dupertwig who sent that. And as she said, I could do a whole sermon just on that alone, because it's the waking up. It's just not just getting out of bed, it's getting out of our unawakened state. I can accept what is. And when I accept what is, when I notice that what is, I can make it a much more informed decision. We see what is without resistance to its isness. I just perceive what is. I'm not in resistance to it. I can make choices. I don't have to condone it. I don't have to like it, but it is. If my relationship isn't working, if my finances aren't working, if my health isn't working, it's just what is. And then once I acknowledge that, now I can start to say, now what do I want to do about that? But if I'm denying it, I'm going to pretend that it is something other than it is, I can't do anything. I'm not living in what is. Byron says, when we stop opposing reality, action becomes simple, fluid, kind, and fearless. Isn't that powerful? How about if we could live our lives simply, fluidly, kindly, and fearlessly? We would experience a freedom from discord. So 4 questions to ask ourselves when we find ourselves stuck in our thinking, to diffuse stuck thinking. The first one is it true? Is what I'm thinking true? Is it true? And if I'm not sure, can I be absolutely sure? Can I absolutely know that it's true? If I have a judgment about another person, can I absolutely know that my judgment about that person is accurate, is right? What I find usually is, no, I can't. Because I can't ultimately know what's in another person's heart or what's in another person's thoughts. I can guess, I can assume. We all know that's not a good thing to do. Okay? But I can't know that it's absolutely true. The third question is, how do I react? What happens when I believe that thought? If I'm having this thought and I'm believing this thought, how am I feeling? What is actually happening for me? Am I in a place of peace and love and acting simply, fluidly, kindly, and fearlessly? Or am I in a state of judgment and constriction and anger and unhappiness? One of the wonderful side questions she asks is, if you've got a thought that you're kind of stuck with, is there one peaceful reason to keep that thought? Is there any peaceful reason? And usually what we find is, no, there's no peaceful reason. I'm hanging on to this thought that makes me not at peace. Am I willing to let go of it so I can move back into a state of peace? And finally, love this question, who would I be without that thought? Who would I be? One of our other books who would I be without my story? Who would I be without my story? Who would I be without my judgment about somebody or something else? Or even the judgment about myself? Who would I be? So spiritual practice this week that I want to invite you to engage in is, number one, to commit to live more peacefully. To make an agreement, to be willing to live more peacefully, to look at the places in each of our lives where we experience discord and say, you know what, I'm willing to bring peace there. I'm willing to begin to act simply, fluidly, kindly, and powerfully in that area of my life in order to create greater peace. The second part of our practice this week is to notice whose business my thinking is in. Just notice it. Just watch how many times I'm in somebody else's business. If you're on Facebook a lot right now, a whole lot of people are in other people's business, particularly political candidates, right? A whole lot of people are in other people's business. And then if you like that candidate and they don't like that candidate, then they're in your business telling you why you shouldn't like that candidate. Notice whose business I'm in and bring it back home. Whose life am I in charge of? Who's the only life that I'm in charge of? Can I take control of my life? And you might notice, if you're stuck with that, if you keep going back and going back, what is it? Why is it that I'd rather be in somebody else's business than in my own? What is it about that I'm not willing to look at in my life? There's that old saying that when you've got one finger pointed out at somebody else, you've got three pointed back at yourself. Okay. What is it that I'm not willing to look at within my own life? What is it that I'm not willing to deal with within my own business? And come back. Come back lovingly. Come back gently into your own business. Come back with your heart open. And then finally, the third practice is to recognize what is and let it be what is. I don't have to condone it. I don't even have to let it continue. But I do have to recognize that it is what is. And from that, I can create something new. And when I'm aware, when I'm in my business, recognizing that what is, I can start to create more of a life that I love and enjoy. And that is a life of peace, that is a life of harmony, and that is a life of joy. So are you willing to take that on for spiritual practice this week? Yes. Okay. We're going to commit to live more peacefully. We're going to notice whose business my thinking is in. If we do that, by the way, I noticed a lot of people laughed when I said that. If we just paid attention to that, it's like meditation. When the puppy wanders off the paper, when the mind goes chattering down the road and you bring it back to your breath or whatever you're focused on, can I bring my attention back to my business and watch it go off, and then bring it back to my business and watch it go off and bring it back to my life? And then finally, to just simply recognize what it is and let it be what is. I'm going to close with a couple of, she calls them Katieisms, and I love it. When you argue with reality, you lose. But only 100% of the time. You move totally away from reality when you believe there is a legitimate reason to suffer. You have moved totally away from reality because reality, the universe, has no desire for you to suffer or be in bondage. No desire at all. So if I'm suffering, if I'm in discord, I have moved away from reality. Reality is always kinder than the story we are believing about it. Isn't that sweet? Reality is always kinder than the story we believe about it. Everything happens for me, not to me. I have a friend who has a practice that's called nothing and no one is against me. And he says the universe is only against, this is a double negative complex little process. The universe is only against who you are not. The universe is trying to move us back to who we truly are. And when we're experiencing conflict or struggle, it's simply the universe is against who I am not. And if I can, again, come back to my business and my truth and my center, then everything happens for me and not to me. And finally, gratitude is who we are without a story. Gratitude is who we are without a story. I think it was Thomas Aquinas who said if the only prayer we ever said was thank you, it would be enough. The only prayer we said was thank you. That would be enough. So let's move into that prayer. I just start with gratitude. I start with gratitude, with thank you, for recognizing that there is one infinite presence, Father, Mother, God, infinite love, Spirit, whatever name we give it, the Tao, Allah, Adonai, whatever name we give it, there is that one infinite presence that is the true capital R reality. And that infinite presence is harmony. It is love. It is power. It is life energy. And because it's all that there is, you and I are one of it. There's nowhere else for us to be. We simply sink into that awareness for a moment. I am one of the infinite love, the infinite life, the infinite good of this universe, the infinite harmony. I am already one of that. Whether I remember it or forget it, I am one of it. And so from that awareness, I speak my word that each of us this week and ongoingly remembers this truth of ourselves, remembers to live our lives, to let go of the places of struggle and discord and disharmony, which are not reality. They're not the capital R reality. And so we unwind, we let go of creating that in our lives. And as we are willing to do so, not only do we let go of the thoughts, but the thoughts let go of us that have been creating that discord. And so we choose new thoughts because we can. And we choose thoughts of peace. We choose thoughts of kindness. We choose thoughts of love. We choose thoughts of power, not a power over, but the power to simply be who we truly are. And so I'm grateful for each person here today who is saying yes to this, who is saying yes to a life of greater peace, of greater harmony, of greater love, of greater joy, of greater simplicity, kindness, and power in being who we are. I'm grateful for each of us. And I'm grateful for the Spirit that moves through it all, that infinite love, that infinite presence. And so with that awareness, we simply allow this to unfold. We trust that there is, by the fact that we've declared it, but we've been willing to have this happen in our lives, there is that in the universe which knows exactly how to manifest it in our lives. We here call it the law, but it is that growth process, it is that natural process that knows how to grow this in our lives. And we simply say yes. And we let it be. And together we affirm that by saying, and so it is.